Hi, my name's Jeff Howe with Howe Performance Power Steering.
Our friend Jeff Howe, owner of Howe Performance, is here today to help us understand the proper setup for their hydraulic steering system. Howe Performance has been in business for 20 years and is really one of the very best at off-road steering, from trophy trucks to razors to buggies, and that's why we wanted them in on this project with us.
Really got my start in off-road racing out in the desert. I'm from San Diego, California. The desert's really in our backyard.
So Jeff, welcome to 4x4 Nation. Thank you for being here. And what can you tell us about this system setup and all these components?
Well, Bree, thanks for having me. First thing we want to pay attention to is the ram. The ram has to stop when the axle stops. This will prevent the ram from overpowering the axle, even becoming maybe a tubing bender.
Okay.
So the next thing we want to pay attention to is the pump. The pump is really what I always say is the guy in charge. We do everything in our power to keep this guy happy. And the way we do that is that we use a cooler that has very little restriction. It has these fins that are machined into it for cooling, but aluminum is a great heat sink. It'll draw the heat right out of the power steering fluid without restricting flow. The next thing is the power steering reservoir. Power steering reservoir, we use a radiator cap actually on here to provide pressure to the oil. We get a little head pressure on the oil, that'll help condense the air that's in the oil. See, there's air in oil, you can't get air out of oil, but you can trick it by pressurizing it. The next thing we do is we use a filter, power steering filter. The reason we filter the oil is because the pump makes metal as it wears. That's what turns the oil black. So we want to filter that. And again, that'll allow the pump to last for years. The next thing is hoses. Hoses are the most important. A lot of people use pressure hose and everything. Yeah, that's the pressure hose. We only want pressure where it's pressure.
Okay.
But the push lock style hose is great because it has a larger ID. So that allows flow back to the pump. Again, flow is everything. Feed the pump. Make it have more flow than it can produce. That way you don't overheat the pump. So hoses are really part of the system that everybody overlooks.
Gotcha. Important for keeping that pump happy, right?
That's right, keeping the pump happy. And again, it'll allow you to have steering that won't quit, won't fade, and endless trail rides for years to come.
That's what I like to hear.
Grew up going to Baja. As a young kid, I witnessed my first off-road race at the age of 12, and ever since then I was hooked. Desert racing has really been my passion, so I've developed power steering to help conquer Baja.
Can't wait to ride in that thing with you.
You're going to have to come back and take a test drive after we get all this together.
And I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Off-road racing has really evolved into more than just desert racing. The rock crawling, really four-wheeling went rock crawling, and when that happened, that whole industry exploded. Going to the King of the Hammers has allowed me to bring more of our desert racing power steering to the industry.